The Supreme Court is hearing arguments on whether former President Donald Trump can be prosecuted for actions taken while in office. Notably missing from the hearing was Trump himself. The former president appeared in court in New York instead, as the judge there told him he has to for continued testimony in his criminal trial. Former Deputy Assistant Attorney General Tom Dupree, someone we turn to every so often on things like this, joins us now. Good to see you in person.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so your big takeaways from what we saw today at the Supreme Court.
Oh, my gosh. 3 hours of constitutional argument. I could have listened to 8. I love this stuff, but it was a long day. It was a long day. Look, the Supreme Court asked the sorts of questions we anticipated they would ask. They really were probing the scope of the immunity that former President Trump could plausibly claim. There were a lot of great, thoughtful questions, tough questions for both sides, and the Supreme Court was interested both in understanding historically how the framers understood the Constitution to work in terms of giving the president or not giving the president immunity. And they also were very focused on the practical consequences of a ruling either way. What would happen if they ruled for Trump, or what would happen if they ruled against Trump for future presidents?
So earlier in the program, we heard from Trump's co-counsel, and he said the team is cautiously optimistic and that they think the court appeared skeptical of the special counsel's arguments. Would you agree, or did you hear something different?
I think they're right to be cautiously optimistic. I think that the justices' questions showed a receptivity to the idea that there needs to be some degree of immunity for a former president. I don't think they're going to go the full distance that former President Trump would like them to do. He was advocating a very aggressive version of immunity. I don't think the court is ready to go that far. But based on the questions today, it does seem likely that they are going to recognize some scope of presidential immunity, the contours of which have yet to be determined.
So the language used to lay out what exactly this is, it was limited to the following question. Follow along here, kids. Whether, and if so, to what extent, does a former president enjoy presidential immunity from criminal prosecution for conduct alleged to involve official acts during his tenure in office? We're going to leave that on screen for a second because it's a mouthful. That's a very specific thing to have to work to ponder now, with only about 2 months to go in this Supreme Court term.
That's exactly right. And there is a heck of a lot of meaning packed within that short sentence.
Yeah.
I think one issue that really captivated the justice's attention today was trying to draw the line between what acts are official acts, or in legal terms, core acts of the president that might be protected by immunity, as opposed to acts that would not be. And I think a lot of the justices were expressing questions. Well, what about this act? Which side of the line would that fall on? What about this act? And so you heard the lawyers today fighting off a seemingly incessant series of hypotheticals about how would this case be resolved, and doing their best to give answers.
So do we think now they're going to go sit around the table and go, okay, guys, let's put a list together. Assassinating someone, probably not immune from that, right? A cabinet appointment, that's immune, right? But, like, is that what they do now?
Well, see, that's the beauty of being a Supreme Court justice. You don't have to make that list yourself. You can basically tell the lower courts they have to do that list, or they have to parse the allegations in the indictment to figure out which claims might be subject to immunity or not. Supreme Court could do that, but they'd simply like to, a lot of times you'll see them announce a legal standard, then leave it to the lower courts to flesh it out in practice.
So then how long does this take?
Well, if that's the road they take, it will take a while.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court will probably not render its decision in this case for, at least another month, maybe not until mid to late June. Once that happens, if in fact they send it back to the lower courts for more analysis, well, then we're talking probably weeks, but more likely months before that task is complete and a trial could potentially restart.
And then you're going to hear another great round of constitutional conversation in a courtroom, and guys like you get really excited about it.
Well, I plead guilty to that.
Tom Dupree, great to have you here. Thank you.
Thanks.